When you open your eyes in the morning, who gets the first audience of your soul? God or your screen? Think about that. Before your feet touch the floor, before your mind has gathered itself, before your heart has remembered its assignment, something is already competing for your attention. And whatever gets your first attention often gets permission to shape your day. My friend, your phone is not just a device. It has become, for many people, the first voice, the first teacher, the first emotional atmosphere, and the first distraction of the day. You call it checking messages. But sometimes it is discipling your spirit. You call it looking at notifications. But sometimes it is training your emotions to wake up anxious, reactive, jealous, hurried, pressured, and divided. Let me tell you something. The first voice you honor in the morning often becomes the voice that governs the rhythm of your day. If the first voice is pressure, you begin under pressure. If the first voice is comparison, you begin feeling behind. If the first voice is bad news, you begin carrying burdens God never assigned to your morning. If the first voice is people needing you, wanting you, correcting you, demanding from you, then before you have surrendered to God, you have already surrendered to noise. But there is another way to begin. One morning begins with notifications. The screen lights up, and immediately the mind is pulled into yesterday's problems, today's deadlines, somebody else's success, somebody else's opinion, somebody else's emergency. Before you have said, Father, thank you, your spirit is already crowded. Before you have asked God for wisdom, the world has already given you information. Before you have received peace, you have already invited pressure. But another morning begins with God, not with panic, not with scrolling, not with comparison, not with noise. It begins with surrender. It begins with presence. It begins with this simple decision. Father, before I give my mind to the world, I give my heart to you. That kind of morning carries a different atmosphere. Peace enters before pressure. Favor speaks before fear. Alignment comes before activity. Did you catch that? The morning is not just a time of day. The morning is a spiritual gateway. It is the entrance through which your thoughts, words, emotions, and decisions begin to walk. Those first minutes are soil. And whatever you plant there begins to grow throughout the day. If you plant distraction, distraction grows. If you plant fear, fear grows. If you plant surrender, surrender grows. If you plant faith, faith grows. That is why I came to tell you, do not let your phone disciple your morning. Because whatever gets your first attention often gets permission to shape your day. Your screen should not be your shepherd. Your notifications should not be your prophet. Your timeline should not be your altar. God must be first. Not because he is insecure, but because he is the source. When the source is first, everything else finds order. And over these next few moments, I want to give you 3 declarations to speak before touching your phone. Not as superstition, not as religious performance, not as a formula to manipulate God. No, these are declarations of alignment. They are words that bring your heart back under divine order, back under kingdom priority, back under God's original purpose for your life. So stay with this teaching. Let it challenge you. Let it correct your morning. Let it rebuild your discipline. And if this kind of kingdom instruction is helping you recover your focus and reorder your life, subscribe and continue growing in this discipline with us. But before this is over, I want you to prepare one declaration. You will write in the comments, one sentence you will speak tomorrow morning before your hand touches that phone. Because tomorrow does not have to begin with noise. Tomorrow can begin with God. Now, here is where many people misunderstand favor. They think favor is luck. They think favor is personality. They think favor is timing. They think some people were just born with a natural advantage, born with a better network, born with a better opportunity, born under a brighter star. But my friend, favor is not luck. Favor is alignment. Favor is not an accident. Favor is the result of divine order operating in a submitted life. You see, God is not confused. God does not bless confusion. He blesses order. He blesses priority. He blesses obedience. He blesses consistency. When a life comes into alignment with heaven, heaven begins to endorse that life in ways human effort cannot explain. Doors begin to open. Wisdom begins to flow. Peace begins to govern. Provision begins to appear. Not because the person is lucky, but because the person is aligned. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Notice the word first. Did you catch that? He did not say seek the kingdom when you finish scrolling. He did not say seek the kingdom after the headlines have shaped your emotions. He did not say seek the kingdom after your schedule has already intimidated you. He said first is a principle. First is a position. First is not only about time, it is about priority. Whatever is first has authority over what follows. If worry is first, worry interprets the day. If comparison is first, comparison interprets your worth. If social media is first, strangers begin shaping your focus before God shapes your spirit. But if the kingdom is first, then everything else must find its proper place under divine order. That is why the phone is not evil, but it becomes dangerous when it takes the place of first priority. A phone can be a tool. It can connect you. It can help you work. It can carry your calendar, your Bible, your communication, your assignments. But anything good becomes dangerous when it becomes first in the place where only God belongs. The issue is not the device in your hand. The issue is the throne in your heart. Let me tell you something. Many people are asking God to bless a day they have already surrendered to anxiety. They wake up, reach for the phone, read the messages, check the news, scan the opinions, compare themselves to somebody else's edited life, and then say, "Lord, bless my day." But the day has already been discipled by noise. The emotions have already been trained by fear. The mind has already been pulled into reaction. The spirit has already been crowded. Then they wonder why they feel tired before they begin. They wonder why they are irritated before anyone speaks to them. They wonder why they cannot focus, cannot pray, cannot think clearly, cannot move with confidence. My friend, it is not always a lack of strength. Sometimes it is a lack of order. Favor is not attracted by panic. Favor is attracted by divine priority. When God is first, He does not merely bless your schedule. He orders your schedule. He does not merely calm your emotions. He governs your emotions. He does not merely help you survive the day. He teaches you how to walk through the day as a representative of His kingdom. This is why seeking first is not a religious activity. It is a government decision. You are deciding what kingdom will govern your thoughts, your words, your choices, and your responses. Think about this. If the morning is a gateway, then you cannot afford to let anything random stand guard at the entrance. You cannot let fear guard the gate. You cannot let offense guard the gate. You cannot let other people's emergencies guard the gate. You cannot let yesterday's disappointment guard the gate. The first moments must be guarded by surrender, by truth, by prayer, by the Word of God, by a conscious decision that says, "Father, you are first here." This is divine alignment. It is not complicated, but it is costly because it requires you to interrupt the appetite of the flesh. The flesh wants information before revelation. The flesh wants stimulation before surrender. The flesh wants to know what everybody else is doing before it asks what God is saying. But the disciplined spirit says, "No. Before the world speaks, my Father will speak. Before the phone gets my attention, God gets my surrender." And when that order is restored, favor has a place to land. Peace has a place to rule. Wisdom has a place to speak. Purpose has a place to rise. You are no longer beginning as a victim of noise. You are beginning as a steward of divine priority. That is why declarations matter. If the morning is the gateway, then declaration is one of the keys that opens it correctly. Your mouth becomes the first instrument of alignment. Before you answer the world, you announce your surrender to God. Before you speak to people, you speak unto heaven. Before your day pulls on you, you plant words that establish order. So I want to give you the first declaration, not as a sentence to repeat mindlessly, but as a key to put in the door of your morning. Father, you are first. Order my steps today. Father, you are first. Order my steps today. That is the first declaration. Simple words, but powerful order. When you say that before the day begins, you are putting God back in his rightful place. You are saying, Lord, before my schedule speaks, you speak. Before my responsibilities pull on me, you lead me. Before I respond to anybody else, I surrender to you. My friend, this is not religious language. This is government. This is surrender. This is alignment. You are not just saying a nice sentence to feel peaceful. You are establishing authority over your morning. You are declaring that your day will not be governed by impulse, emotion, urgency, fear, pressure, or distraction. It will be governed by the Father. Psalm 5:3 says, my voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee. Notice that. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning. Not my complaint, not my panic, not my first reaction to a message, not my first argument with the world. My voice will be directed to God first. Did you catch that? Before the voice goes out horizontally, it must go up vertically. Before you speak to people, speak to God. Before you check who needs you, remember who owns you. Before you answer demands, receive direction. Because if you answer demands before you receive direction, you may spend a whole day responding to things God never told you to carry. This is where many people lose their peace. They wake up and immediately ask, what is happening? What happened overnight? Who texted me? What did they say? What did I miss? What is the problem? What is the emergency? That is the language of a reactive life. But the aligned person wakes up and asks a different question. Lord, what are you saying? There is a difference between reaction and revelation. Reaction is when the world moves you before God leads you. Revelation is when God speaks before the world defines the moment. Reaction says, I must respond now. Revelation says, I must listen first. Reaction makes you hurried. Revelation makes you govern. Reaction opens the door to panic. Revelation opens the door to peace. Let me tell you something. When God becomes your first audience, he becomes your first source of order. You cannot give God the first moment and remain the same kind of person. Something begins to shift. Your emotions come under authority. Your thoughts begin to settle. Your priorities begin to arrange themselves. The day may still be full, but you are no longer full of confusion. I know of a person who used to begin every morning the same way. The alarm would ring, the hand would reach, and the phone would become the first teacher of the day. Messages, emails, news, deadlines, problems. Before breakfast, the mind was already running. Before prayer, the heart was already heavy. Before work, the spirit was already tired. Then this person made one small decision. For 1 minute, just 1 minute, the phone would stay face down. No messages, no scrolling, no checking. Just 1 minute of surrender. Sitting on the edge of the bed, breathing slowly, and saying, Father, you are first. Order my steps today. At first, it felt too small to matter. But consistency has power. After several mornings, something changed. Peace replaced panic. Clarity replaced confusion. The same messages were still there, but they no longer had the first authority. The same responsibilities were still waiting, but they no longer control the atmosphere. Why? Because the person did not remove every problem. They restored the proper order. That is the power of first place. God does not need 10 hours to establish authority. He needs your surrender. He needs your priority. He needs your agreement. When you give him the first moment, you are telling your soul, we do not belong to anxiety. We do not belong to the phone. We do not belong to the opinions of people. We belong to God. So here's the habit. Tomorrow morning, when your eyes open, sit up, breathe, keep the phone face down. Do not negotiate with it. Do not check just one thing. Do not tell yourself, I will only look for a second. No. Let your first discipline be clear. Sit up, breathe, and before your feet touch the floor, speak the declaration. Father, you are first. Order my steps today. Say it slowly. Say it with your spirit awake. Say it until your heart hears it. Father, you are first. That means you are above my fear. You are above my calendar. You are above my pressure. You are above my emotions. Order my steps today. That means guide my decisions. Govern my words. Interrupt my distractions. Lead me away from what wastes my strength and toward what fulfills my assignment. And when you do this daily, you are not just building a habit, you are building a life of order. You are teaching your spirit to seek before it reacts. You are training your mind to receive before it races. You are telling the world, you may have access to me today, but you do not have first place. But once God has first place, the next battle begins. Because after priority is established in the heart, the atmosphere must be established in the mouth. Your first surrender must be followed by your first words of faith. So the second declaration is this: I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today. Say it again in your spirit. I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today. This declaration governs the atmosphere of the day. The first declaration gives God priority. The second declaration gives your mouth responsibility. Because once your heart is surrendered, your tongue must come into agreement with heaven. My friend, words are not empty sounds. Words are seeds. Words are directions. Words are agreements. Words are spiritual containers. They carry fear or they carry faith. They carry death or they carry life. They carry confusion or they carry order. You cannot speak carelessly every morning and expect to walk in clarity all day. Your mouth is not just describing your condition. Your mouth is helping cultivate your atmosphere. Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Notice that. Death and life are not only in circumstances. Death and life are not only in what people did to you. Death and life are connected to the tongue. Did you catch that? Your tongue has power. Not because you are God, but because you were created in the image of a speaking God. God creates by speaking. God releases order by speaking. God calls things into alignment by speaking. And when you begin your morning speaking under His authority, you are refusing to let darkness write the first sentence of your day. But how many people wake up and immediately plan death? Before they pray, they say, I am tired. Before they surrender, they say, I am behind. Before they ask for wisdom, they say, I cannot handle this. Before they even stand up, they declare, today will be terrible. And then they walk into the day wondering why their emotions feel heavy, why their mind feels defeated, why their spirit feels drained. Let me tell you something. You cannot keep planting thorns and then become angry when the garden is difficult to walk through. Every morning, your mouth becomes the garden of your day. Whatever you plant early often grows throughout the day. If you plant complaint, complaint grows. If you plant fear, fear grows. If you plant defeat, defeat grows. If you plant faith, faith grows. If you plant gratitude, gratitude grows. If you plant life, life begins to rise in places where your feelings expected death. Now listen carefully. Declaration is not denial. Faith does not pretend problems do not exist. Faith refuses to let problems become Lord over the heart. You may have a difficult meeting. You may have bills to pay. You may have pressure waiting. You may have a conflict that needs wisdom. You may have responsibilities that are heavy. But you do not have to let the problem become your prophet. You do not have to let pressure become your teacher. You do not have to let fear become the voice that names your day. That is why you say, I walk in God's favor. You are not saying everything is easy. You are saying God is with me. You are not saying there will be no resistance. You are saying resistance is not greater than grace. You are not saying people will always understand me. You are saying, I am covered by the favor of the one who sent me. Favor is not arrogance. Favor is alignment. Favor is the confidence that when I walk under divine order, I do not walk alone. Then you say, and my words plant life today. That means I will not use my mouth as a weapon against my own future. I will not curse the day God has given me. I will not rehearse defeat before I have even obeyed. I will not speak fear over my children, frustration over my work, bitterness over my relationships, or hopelessness over my assignment. My words will plant life. Tomorrow morning, before your phone gets your attention, speak these lines slowly. I am not ruled by fear. I am led by wisdom. I am covered by grace. I will speak life in every room I enter. Say it until your emotions come under government. Say it until your mind stops arguing with truth. Say it until your spirit remembers who sent you. Because when you walk in God's favor, you are not just trying to have a good day. You are representing a kingdom when you enter a room. Peace should enter with you. When you speak, your words should not multiply confusion. They should carry wisdom. They should carry authority. They should carry responsibility. A favored person does not use words cheaply. A favored person understands that the mouth can build or break, heal or wound, bless or poison, encourage or discourage. Think about Jesus. He spoke to storms. He spoke to sickness. He spoke to dead things. He spoke to fear. His words were never careless because his words were governed by his Father. That is the pattern. When you make God your first audience, and then let your words come under his authority, your mouth becomes an instrument of peace in a noisy world. So do not just wake up and report how you feel. Wake up and declare what is true. Do not just describe the pressure. Declare the presence. Do not just confess the problem. Confess the promise. I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today. Prayer opens the heart. Declaration sets the atmosphere. But favor also requires movement, because after you seek God and speak life, you must rise and walk in the assignment he has given you. And this brings us to the third declaration, the declaration that protects your purpose from distraction. My assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. Say that again. My assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. My friend, this is where discipline begins. Not in a calendar. Not in a planner, not in a productivity system. Discipline begins when your spirit tells your appetite, you are not in charge here, because the phone often feeds appetite before the spirit receives assignment. Appetite for updates, appetite for approval, appetite for entertainment, appetite for argument, appetite for comparison, appetite for one more thing, one more video, one more message, one more opinion, one more distraction. And the danger is this. Appetite never says, I have had enough. Appetite always asks for more. More noise, more stimulation, more validation, more information. But assignment speaks differently. Assignment says, be faithful. Assignment says, move with purpose. Assignment says, do what God put in your hands. Assignment says, this day is not merely for consumption. This day is for stewardship. Let me tell you something. Dominion begins with self-government. God gave man dominion, but dominion is impossible without discipline. If you cannot govern the first 5 minutes of your morning, you will struggle to govern the pressures of your day. If a notification can rule your attention before prayer rules your heart, then pressure will rule your reactions by noon. If your appetite gets the first vote every morning, your assignment will always be postponed. You were not created merely to consume content. You were created to carry an assignment. You were created to solve problems. You were created to reflect the nature of God in the earth. You were created to serve your generation. There is work attached to your life. There is responsibility attached to your name. There are people connected to your obedience. There are rooms waiting for your wisdom. Families needing your stability, conversations needing your maturity, and opportunities requiring your readiness. That is why Proverbs 3:6 says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Notice the words, all thy ways. Not some of your ways. Not only your church way. Not only your prayer way. All your ways. Your schedule. Your decisions. Your conversations. Your emotions. Your work, your relationships, your responses, your plans, your interruptions. When you acknowledge God in all your ways, you are saying, Father, I invite you into the practical places of my life. Did you catch that? Acknowledging God is not just saying, Lord, I love you. It is saying, Lord, direct this meeting. Direct this decision. Direct this message I must send. Direct this conversation I must have. Direct my emotions before they direct me. Direct my work before I waste my strength. That is purpose becoming practical. Scrolling often consumes attention, but sowing directs attention. Scrolling asks, what can I take in? Sowing asks, what does God ask me to put out? Scrolling says, feed me. Sowing says, use me. Scrolling can pull your mind into everybody else's life while your own assignment sits untouched. But sowing turns your attention toward calling, toward family, toward leadership, toward work, toward obedience. So here is the habit. After you say, Father, you are first, order my steps today, and after you say, I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today, then say, my assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. Then do one more thing before opening the phone. Write or speak one obedience for the day. Just one. Today I will make the call I have been avoiding. Today I will finish the task I keep delaying. Today I will apologize. Today I will encourage my child. Today I will prepare for the opportunity I keep praying for. Today I will steward my body. Today I will work with excellence. One obedience. Before the phone speaks, before the world pulls, before appetite negotiates. I knew of a young man who began every morning with social media. Before his feet touched the floor, he was already comparing. Comparing his progress, his money, his body, his influence, his life. And by the time he got up, he was already discouraged. Nothing had happened yet, but his spirit was already defeated. Then he changed one question. Instead of asking, what did I miss? He began asking, what is one responsible action I must take today? One question changed the direction of his morning. He stopped feeding comparison first. He stopped giving strangers the power to define his pace. He wrote one responsible action each morning, and then he did it. Not 10 things. One thing. Discipline replaced drift. Clarity replaced confusion. Movement replaced delay. My friend, purpose becomes practical when you give your first attention to assignment before appetite. Do not wait until you feel motivated. Govern yourself. Do not wait until distraction disappears. Choose obedience. Do not wait until the day becomes easy. Bring the day under order. So now you have the 3 declarations. The first establishes priority. Father, you are first. Order my steps today. The second establishes atmosphere. I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today. The third establishes assignment. My assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. Priority, atmosphere, assignment. Seek God, speak life, move with purpose. That is how a morning comes under divine order. Now, I want to make this practical. Because revelation without practice becomes inspiration that never becomes transformation. You have the declarations, but now you need a pattern. Seek, speak, move. That is the order. Seek God first. Speak life over the day. Move with purpose into one act of obedience. Did you catch that? Seek, speak, move. Not scroll, worry, react. Not compare, complain, delay. Seek. Speak. Move. This is how you train your morning to serve your destiny instead of sabotaging it. This is how you take the first moments and bring them under divine government. Minute 1. Acknowledge God. Before the phone, before the messages, before the schedule, before the pressure, say, Father, you are first. Order my steps today. That first minute is not wasted time. It is alignment time. It is throne time. It is the moment where you remind your soul who has authority. You are saying, Lord, I am not beginning this day as an orphan. I am not beginning this day as a victim of urgency. I am not beginning this day led by noise. I begin with you. Minute 2, declare favor and life. Say, I walk in God's favor and my words plant life today. Do not let your first words be complaint. Do not let your first confession be defeat. Do not let your mouth agree with fear before it agrees with heaven. Speak life. Speak wisdom. Speak grace. Speak peace. Say, I am led by God. I am covered by grace. My words will build and not destroy. My presence will carry peace and not confusion. Your words become seeds and the morning is soil. Minute 3. Choose one purposeful action. Say, my assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. Then identify one obedience, one call, one task, one apology, one discipline, one act of preparation, one decision that moves you toward responsibility, My friend, purpose does not become real because you talk about it. Purpose becomes real when you obey in practical places. Prayer opens the heart. Declaration sets the atmosphere. Purposeful action moves the life. Now listen carefully. The power is not in doing this once with strong emotion. The power is in doing it consistently with surrendered faith. Many people want a dramatic morning once a month, but God is looking for an aligned morning every day. Emotional intensity is not the same as spiritual consistency. You can cry loudly on Monday and live distracted by Tuesday. You can feel inspired today and be governed by appetite tomorrow. But when you return every morning, when you seek, speak, and move every morning, something begins to form in you. A disciplined morning is not a small habit. It is a daily agreement with God's order. It is you telling heaven, I am available. It is you telling your flesh, you are not leading. It is you telling distraction, you will not disciple me. It is you telling your assignment, I am coming into alignment. Think about Daniel. Daniel's strength was not created in the lion's den. It was revealed in the lion's den. His courage was not manufactured in crisis. It was practiced before crisis. The scripture shows us that Daniel had a custom. He prayed consistently. He sought God consistently. He did not wait until danger came to discover discipline. He had already built a secret life of alignment before the public test arrived. That is why the crisis could not own him. The king's decree did not create his devotion, and the threat of lions did not cancel his devotion. Why? Because Daniel's morning and rhythm had already been given to God. His strength was not accidental. His favor was not random. His wisdom was not luck. It was the fruit of a life ordered before God in private. Let me tell you something. What you practice in peace will speak for you in pressure. If you practice panic, panic will answer when pressure comes. If you practice distraction, distraction will answer when responsibility comes. But if you practice seeking God, speaking life, and moving with obedience, then when pressure comes, order will rise up in you. Peace will rise up in you. Wisdom will rise up in you. But do not turn this into empty repetition. These declarations are not magic words. This is not superstition. This is not a formula to control God. The power is not in the syllables. The power is in faith, alignment, obedience, and renewed priority. If your mouth says, Father, you are first, but your heart still bows to distraction, then the sentence has not yet become surrender. If your mouth says, my words plant life, but you spend the day speaking death, then the declaration has not yet become discipline. So say it with faith. Say it with surrender. Say it with intention. Father, you are first. Order my steps today. I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today. My assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. 3 declarations. 3 minutes, 1 order. Seek, speak, move. This is small enough to begin tomorrow, but strong enough to redirect the atmosphere of your life over time. 1 morning becomes 2, 2 becomes 7, 7 becomes a pattern becomes a lifestyle becomes a testimony. And before long, you are not just having better mornings. You are becoming a different kind of person. Because this is bigger than time management. This is identity. God is not only interested in helping you get through the day. He is forming someone he can trust with influence. He is forming someone who can carry favor without becoming careless. Responsibility without becoming distracted. Opportunity without losing order. The way you govern your first moments reveals the kind of person you are becoming. That is why this is not just about starting a day. This is about stewarding a destiny. The morning is not only where you wake up. The morning is where you reveal what has been governing you. It is where servants of purpose learn to govern themselves before they try to govern assignments, families, businesses, ministries, conversations, and opportunities. My friend, you are not a victim of notifications. You are not a victim of moods. You are not a victim of headlines. You are not a victim of pressure. You are a representative of the kingdom of God. That means you cannot afford to let the loudest voice become the first voice. You cannot afford to let the urgent thing replace the eternal thing. You cannot afford to let appetite sit on the throne before purpose is spoken. Every morning gives you a choice, chaos or clarity. reaction or revelation, appetite or assignment. The world says, check me first. Fear says, listen to me first. Pressure says, obey me first. But the Spirit of God says, seek me first. Did you catch that? First is not just a position on the clock. First is a position of authority. Whatever gets first place begins to shape the rest. When you say, Father, you are first, order my steps today, you are not merely starting a routine. You are becoming a surrendered person. When you say, I walk in God's favor and my words plant life today, you are not merely repeating a sentence. You are becoming a responsible speaker. When you say, my assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction, you are not merely resisting your phone. You are becoming a disciplined steward. This is identity. God is first. My mouth carries life. My purpose governs my attention. Say that in your spirit. God is first. My mouth carries life. My purpose governs my attention. That is not just a morning pattern. That is a kingdom identity. That is how a man learns to lead himself before he leads a home. That is how a woman learns to carry peace before she carries pressure. That is how a father becomes stable. That is how a mother becomes anchored. That is how a worker becomes excellent. That is how a minister becomes trustworthy. That is how a believer becomes mature. Do not measure spiritual growth only by public moments. Do not measure it only by what people see, by how gifted you sound, by how well you perform, by how loudly you pray in public, or by how much responsibility you carry where others can applaud. Measured by private order. Measured by what happens when no one is watching. Measured by the first 5 minutes when the phone is near you, but God is calling you. Measured by whether your spirit can say no to noise and yes to presence. Let me tell you something. Public gifting may impress people, but private consistency attracts heaven's trust. The enemy does not only fear your gift, he fears your consistency. He fears the man who keeps returning to God every morning. He fears the woman who keeps speaking life when emotions want to speak death. He fears the believer who keeps moving in obedience when distraction offers escape. Why? Because consistency makes favor sustainable. Favor that is not supported by discipline can be wasted. Opportunity that is not supported by order can become pressure. Influence that is not supported by surrender can become danger. But when your mornings are governed, your life begins to carry weight differently. You stop chasing every voice. You stop reacting to every mood. You stop letting every headline baptize your emotions in fear. You begin to move like someone under authority. And tomorrow morning can become the first evidence that a new order has begun. Not next month, not when life becomes easier, not when all the pressure disappears. Tomorrow, before the phone receives your first attention, let God receive your first surrender. Let 1 minute become evidence. Let one declaration become agreement. Let one act of obedience become movement. Because you are not just starting a day, you are stewarding a destiny. And the way you govern your first moments reveals the kind of person you are becoming. Tomorrow morning, let God speak before the world speaks. Let that be the line you draw in your spirit. Before your hand reaches for the phone, before your eyes search for messages, before your mind is pulled into news, noise, pressure, comparison, and demand, give God the first surrendered minute. Tomorrow's victory can begin there. Not with a perfect schedule. Not with a dramatic, emotional moment. Not with everything in your life suddenly becoming easy. One surrendered minute before the phone gets your attention. Now, remember the order. Priority, favor, assignment. First, you declare priority. Father, you are first. Order my steps today. Then you declare favor and responsibility. I walk in God's favor, and my words plant life today. Then you declare purpose over appetite. My assignment is greater than my appetite for distraction. 3 declarations, 3 agreements, 3 ways of telling your soul that this day will not be governed by chaos. Did you catch that? You are not just saying words, you are establishing government. You are telling your morning God is first. You are telling your mouth speak life. You are telling your attention you belong to purpose. That is divine order. And favor follows order. Peace follows order. Clarity follows order. When the first thing is surrendered, the rest of the day begins to find its proper place. So I want to challenge you, for the next 7 mornings, do not touch the phone until these declarations have been spoken with attention and faith. 7 mornings. Before you scroll, seek. Before you react, speak. Before you consume, move toward assignment. Put the phone down. Sit up if you must. Stand if you must. Whisper if you must. But speak it like a person coming back under heaven's authority. And if you miss one morning, do not let shame disciple you either. The goal is not perfection. The goal is realignment. If you forget on the 2nd day, return on the 3rd. If you stumble on the 4th, rise on the 5th. God is not asking you to perform for Him. He is inviting you to return to order. Shame says you failed, so stop. Grace says you missed, now come back. My friend, maturity is not proven by never falling out of rhythm. Maturity is proven by how quickly you return to God's rhythm. Now make this personal. If you are receiving this, write this declaration. I choose purpose before distraction. Put it where your own eyes can see it. Let it be a witness or comment the specific truth you are choosing to live out before touching your phone. Maybe it is God is first. Maybe it is my words plant life. Maybe it is my assignment is greater. But do not just listen and walk away unchanged. Agreement must become action. And if this teaching is helping you rebuild your morning around God's original purpose, then stay connected, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs peace before pressure, clarity before chaos, and presence before panic. Sometimes one word in the morning can rescue the direction of an entire day. Now before we close, pause for a moment. Do not rush past this. Let the teaching become personal. Let your heart answer God. Let your morning, your phone, your words, and your assignment come before Him. Because a consecrated morning can become the doorway to a governed life. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the gift of a new day. We thank you for breath in our bodies, mercy over our lives, and the grace of new beginnings. Thank you that morning is proof that you have not withdrawn your hand. Thank you that yesterday did not have the final word. Thank you that your mercies are new, not recycled, not exhausted, not delayed, but new every morning. Lord, forgive us for misplaced priority. Forgive us for giving the world first access to our heart. Forgive us for waking up anxious, reaching for noise, feeding fear, and calling it normal. Forgive us for letting the phone disciple our emotions before your presence could govern our spirit. Forgive every distracted habit, every hurried morning, every anxious reaction, every moment we allowed pressure to sit in the place that belongs only to you. Today we return to divine order. We declare, Lord, you are first. Order our steps today. Govern our thoughts. Settle our emotions. Direct our words. Lead our decisions. Establish the work of our hands. Let our plans come under your wisdom. Our schedules come under your authority, and our desires come under your purpose. We do not begin this day as slaves to urgency. We begin as sons and daughters under the covering of our Father. We declare that we walk in your favor, not luck, not striving, not panic, favor. Your favor. Cover us as we go out and as we come in. Give us wisdom in conversations, discernment in decisions, patience in pressure, and peace in places where confusion has been waiting. Let our mouths plant life today. We will not speak death over what you are still developing. We will not curse our morning with complaint. We will speak grace. We will speak truth. We will speak courage. We will carry peace. And we will enter every room as representatives of your kingdom. And Father, strengthen our discipline. Our assignment is greater than distraction. Our purpose is greater than appetite. Our obedience begins before the noise begins. Teach us to govern the first moments. Teach us to say no to what drains us and yes to what forms us. Teach us to choose presence over pressure, faith over fear, purpose over panic, and obedience over delay. Let our hands move toward what you have placed before us. I pray now for homes. Let peace return to homes where mornings have been filled with rushing and irritation. I pray for families. Let parents carry steadiness before they carry stress. I pray for fathers. Give them clarity, courage, tenderness, and self-government. I pray for mothers. Strengthen their hearts, renew their peace, and remind them that heaven sees their labor. I pray for leaders, workers, students, builders, servants, ministers, and every person rebuilding their morning after seasons of distraction. Give them a new rhythm. Give them holy consistency. Give them the grace to begin again. Lord, let this not be a moment only. Let it become a lifestyle. Let one surrendered morning become 7. Let 7 become a pattern. Let the pattern become a testimony. Form in us people you can trust with favor, responsibility, opportunity, and influence. We believe you are not finished with us. You are still ordering, still shaping, still calling, still restoring. And we receive this truth. A consecrated morning becomes a doorway for a governed life. A life of favor begins with daily alignment. Now let this be our refrain. Before the phone, I choose your presence. Before the noise, I choose your voice. Before the day begins, I choose your purpose.